Roy, how you doing, kid?
I am hanging in there, sir. We are going to get ready in a second. I'm
All
going to
right.
start this segment with a billboard. You guys ready in there?
Yeah, we've started already, and you should just get started with the billboard because I think Ernie's voice there just saying hello to you is something that's a good start that people will recognize. So go ahead
Okay.
and just read the billboard.
I will. This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
He called him kid.
I know,
I
but,
know, I
love
but
that.
we
Oh,
we
EJ,
all had the
love
same
it.
reaction. Zaslow just whispered into my ear when he heard Ernie's voice. He said that made me happy.
It did.
And all of us had the
course.
same reaction. I wanted to have him on. He's never going to gloat because he's as egoless as they come in this particular business. But he's the one who told you these Pacers were going to be in this position, and there weren't a whole lot of people saying that. So, Ernie, thank you for joining us. But what do you make so far of the series, and what do you make of Stugotz's contention that the Knicks are the better team?
Boy, that's a lot to unpack. Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Better now.
Good morning, Ernie.
Yes, with your voice,
Yes.
and we get to cover sports for a living and have the same gratitude you do about that.
Yes. I mean, and I'm grateful that we've got this kind of a series as our NBA on TNT swan song. I'll tell you that. It's been fun every step of the way on this one, and I don't. I mean, I don't know, Stugotz, if New York's a better team. I mean, they were a whisper away from being down 3-0. So I think they're two very evenly matched teams, and every game's coming down to clutch time. 5 or less than 5 minutes to go, and so what more can you want? And so I've been enjoying this like crazy. I don't know what happened actually, but Dan, that day that you said, okay, if there is a dark horse, so look, I'll admit, I did not come on your show last time and say, oh, by the way, the Indiana Pacers. You said, hey, if you had to pick a dark horse out of this bunch, and I said, hey, let's go Indiana. And now you've been texting me after every time they win with just one word, says Pacers with 2 exclamation points. And when I try to think of something witty to come back at you with, but it's been it's been pretty amazing to watch.
That's so
this.
you right there. You got it totally right. And everyone in sports media except you would be taking a victory lap. You are sitting here saying, I didn't get it that right.
No, I didn't. I was pressed. And I've learned from talking to you that I better come up with an answer. And so it wasn't like I was going to say, oh, there are a lot of good teams. I couldn't possibly pick a dark horse, but I hit this one. Okay, I got this one right.
Ernie, the Knicks could easily be up 2-1. Plus, Dan has math friends, and they say that they should be up 2 games to 1.
Well, Ernie, I will ask you this question as a basketball expert because I have talked to friends who know math, and they say if Halliburton took that shot 10,000 times and tried to get the ball to bounce that high and then land through the net that way without touching the rim, that he would be able to do that 0 out of the next 10,000 times. The ball bouncing over the shot clock and then swishing through the net.
It almost hit us. And we're and at the Garden, we are in the very rafters. I reached out and thought it was like a foul ball. And I said, hey, I'm going to get a souvenir. No, it was an amazing moment. Those things, we're just, when they happen, you don't believe what you just saw. And so sure, I mean, the Knicks blew a huge lead in that game, should have won it. Hey, game 3, Rick Carlisle has lost 3 games in his career when he had a 20-point lead at home. And so he's like 250-3 in that situation. So, I mean, when it gets to this point, you can always look and say, if we had done this and we had done this, we should be up 2-1. We should be up 3-0. That's part of playoff basketball. So, yeah, your friends who think the Knicks could be up 2-1, yeah, they're right. They really are. But you could also say, hey, you know what? Pacers should be up 3-0. So there you go.
Ernie, how big an adjustment do you think it is for Carlisle after losing Game 3 to bring back John Halliburton?
Desperate.
It's such a huge story. The fact that he will be in the arena. No, look. What I think, and Chuck brought it up the other night, and he talked about it. Said, "Hey, the guy's done his time. Let him, watch a home game." And I think being in his home arena and being somewhere not on the floor, that's fine. What he did was wrong. But I certainly wouldn't say, "Hey, let him go to the Garden too and watch from a courtside seat." No, that would not be a good idea. But I think being at home and where the Pacers take care of him and put him in a suite and let him watch his son play, I'm okay with that.
Ernie, how much of a punishment, though, is it that he's not allowed to sit courtside, but they're going to put him in a suite?
It's absolutely. That's very difficult. It's very difficult watching a game
punishment.
from a suite. No, but look, he missed the last round. Okay, he sat out the entire round when they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Couldn't go to any games. So let's just move on. That would be my stance.
Couple fist bumps from the Turner exec saying, "Man, thank God we got the East this year. Woo, that would have been rough to go to OKC."
No, this is, again, as I said when we came on, this is a great way for us to go out because it's been a time of like mixed emotions and so yeah, to have a series in which every game, and I said it at halftime of game one. I said, look, if we get 7 games like this would be tremendous. And now, and when you say that, you never think, oh yeah, well, we'll have a clunker here and there, but we haven't. And so it's been great. And I was actually happy to see a competitive game in that OKC series because that's been. I've been on that side before. We've had those where, you're doing the post-game show and it's like, okay, so why did they win by 25? And so, or why'd they win by 42? What else do we want to talk about? Then you run out of things to say. But in this case, so much has happened in every game that our post-game show has been, dynamite. It's been, there's been so much to talk about and the guys are picking apart plays. That's what you love. So we don't root for anybody. We just want competitive, compelling games where we have a lot to talk about when the game's over.
Let me ask you this, though. When you say of this particular show, run out of things to say, I would have made the argument before right now that you guys are better when there isn't something to talk about than when there is, especially since I've seen the analysis of Shaq and Barkley skew older with the evolution of the game. Do you think I have that wrong?
No, I think the point that I'm making is that we have actual basketball to talk about, and maybe that disappoints the fan who's tuning in to see what these clowns are going to do tonight. But I'm saying from a basketball perspective, it gives us a lot to chew on. It talks, we're able to talk. What was his strategy here? Why did he do this? Why did they change the starting lineup? Why did the Pacers only have 2 fast break points in the second half after 14 in the first half? What did they do? And I think basketball-wise, in a playoff setting, it's great to have basketball to talk about rather than searching for something or hoping that somebody, does something silly that we just ride for a couple of seconds.
But you would say that if you could predict it, and I know that a lot of improv and ad lib goes on with live television.
If I could predict it like the Pacers.
Not that well. But if you could say before a show, I'm going to give you a lot to talk about, or I'm going to give this crew of people not a lot to talk about, which is likely to make the most entertaining show? Not informative or sports heavy to you, just more likely to produce an entertaining show. What would be your answer to that?
I think it would be a mix of the two, but because I think when it's the thing about doing these series is it's almost like you get a little repetitive from time to time, and it's like, okay, they still lead in points in the paint, and they still lead in fast break points, and these guys need to do a better job on the boards, and it can get a little repetitive. But I would agree with you that when you have to not create, but when you're kind of looking for something to say, let's spice things up a little bit, or let's get something for folks to laugh about. That the thing about our shows, you never know. I mean, it's so organic that you don't know if Shaq's going to come up with something that's so totally off the wall that we're just going to keep riding him. Or the other night when Chuck could not pronounce Nikhil Alexander Walker's name, and then Nikhil Alexander Walker gets asked about that in a media availability. So we love stuff like that, but we have to also keep in mind that we're here to break down playoff basketball. This is what we build all year toward. So the better the games are and the more hoop we can talk, the better.
Do you think that you will or won't be emotional the last broadcast?
I'm actually trying not to think about that because I think the potential is there. Because there have just been times this season where it hits you and you think about, wow, nobody's ever going to say the NBA on TNT again. And after 35 years of, this relationship, having it end it does get emotional. And I think, we're not going to be over the top, but we're certainly going to have some folks to thank. And I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say that last night. And so it's not like you want to prepare something. I think we'll all have something to say. But I think we also realize that for the four of us, it would really be weird, Dan, if this were the end of us together. And it's not going to be, because the show is going to continue just on another network, on an ABC, ESPN kind of combo. But it's and we're going to have the same folks we see, running camera and producing the show. That's going to be the same. It's just going to run at a different place. But if this were the end of the four of us together, then I'd want this series to go like 29 games.
You have said before that this is as close as you will ever come to having brothers, that you love these people for real, that it's not a throwaway line. And you've been very careful about how it is that you've talked publicly about the business parts of this relationship. But I have said, Ernie, that I believe that Charles Barkley is presently in a position to be the most coveted, lucrative free agent in the history of sports broadcasting if he actually wanted to exert his power over everything happening here. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment?
Well, he was the biggest free agent when he signed with us the first time. That's 20-something years ago. Because when he was out there and available and it looked like he was going to go to NBC, it was like, wow, good for NBC. That's really nice. And then he has this change of heart after dinner and drinks with the executives at TNT, and he's like, I'm going to go to them. And so obviously he was then and he would be now. But I think there's a bond that we share, the four of us, that's stronger than that. And I think that's why we're going to be together again next year.
Ernie, if the series did go 29 games, who do you think wins?
Well, I would
I mean, best two words in sports, game 29.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think your friends would be saying, hey, you know what? We really could be up 25-2 in this one.
Tied 14-all.
I want to know, Ernie, why it is with the evolution of basketball, as we've talked about LeBron and Steph all season, we do storylines. How difficult is it to explain to the American public that defense is about to win the championship, and instead of face of the league stuff, what you're going to have to do, even though they're going to make it about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the team that won the title is the one that per game had the fewest turnovers and created the most turnovers. It's not as exciting as just saying Anthony Edwards is the new face of the league, but OKC has been better than everybody for those reasons since the start of the season.
Oh, yeah, all season long they've been that, and that's been their calling card. We're not going to turn it over. We're going to make you do it, and we're going to take advantage of all those opportunities. And they play a very exciting brand of ball to me. It's not like you're watching a team that's going to win games 83-81, 1985 style. This is a team that gets up and down, has a dynamic player in SGA and another, rising superstar in Jalen Williams. and a very thin guy who can really play in Chet Holmgren. So and they have my doppelganger, Alex Caruso, who causes havoc all over the floor. And we refer to him as my son, by the way, and he knows that. We've talked about
a terrible insult, not the son part, but your doppelganger to a professional athlete.
Also pesky.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm his doppelganger. But it's like the other night he had a big game and we had him on the show, and I said, "Hey, that was very impressive. I'm raising your allowance." But I think no, this is it's a really good team. And again, when you hear, "Hey, defense carries them," there they are. There we are. When defense carries them, it's not like, "Oh man, you're going to see this is going to be a pitcher's duel. It's going to be nothing going to the ninth." They can score and they create havoc, and it's kind of, it's like those Louisville teams in college basketball or the Arkansas teams that would press you all over the floor and pick you up. And see if it's Indiana likes to play that way too. Kenny Atkinson said it. He said they're like a college team. You're inbound on the ball and they're pressuring you. So that's what's made Indiana as fun to watch, I think, as they have been, because they never stop and it's up and down the floor. So I wouldn't get carried away saying, "Hey, this is a team that hangs its head on defense. They're not fun to watch." OKC is.
Ernie, if it's a OKC Indiana final, though, is that a tough national sell, do you think, in terms of TV ratings? Because a lot of people just look at two smaller markets, two teams that don't have a real pedigree of championships.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, Greg, you're probably right. That's probably, in the TV executive's view, probably not the most attractive matchup of all time, but it's certainly one that we've seen coming on the OKC side. Everybody expects and say, "Hey, are they ready to take that next step and be in the finals?" Indiana has been the surprise, and so look, I don't worry about that stuff. Is it a tough sell? I know basketball fans want to watch. You're not going to watch all year just to turn it off when the finals start because it's not a New York team or it's not an LA team. If you're a basketball fan, you're going to watch. But if you're on the fringe, that might be a little tough.
I have a curiosity here as the last question that I need to ask Tony about, because Ernie Johnson is the rarest of things in sports broadcasting. I don't believe anybody listening to this could come up with something he has said or done in the entirety of his career that a sports fan would say, "I'm disgusted with Ernie Johnson. He did this or he said that." But Tony in the other room showed profound disgust while Ernie was talking, and I need to know what it was about, because Ernie said something that really bothered you. What was it?
Ernie, and it's no offense to you, Ernie. You said something that really struck with me, which is Indiana's like a college team, and I think that's what I hate about them. Right? I love watching college basketball during March Madness for the madness, but if you're going to bring me a college basketball team that's going to pick up 94 feet from the hoop, TJ McConnell's going to be there slapping the floor, playing defense, doing these moves, and then getting the little jumper that he does, the 12 feet where he does a hop step, and it's like everything is perfectly done. Everything is great. He's always in the right spot. He's always doing the right thing. I hate that. I don't like that.
Yeah,
give me stuff that's crazy. I don't want to see the perfection of TJ McConnell. I want to see what's going on in OKC. I want to see what's going on in Minnesota, in New York. Please, God, get the New York Knicks to the NBA Finals.
I feel great shame for having quoted Kenny Atkinson's description of the Indiana Pacers.
Well, it struck with
it's not
all
you.
of us.
I said no offense, respectfully. It was just
and believe me, Tony, none taken at all. I mean, I was throwing a quote out there that I had read the other day from Kenny Atkinson. But so what's your issue with TJ McConnell?
he's always so perfect.
Pesky.
And Ernie, like he's the best basketball player ever. He just always does the right thing. And it's like, I'm tired of that. I don't want him to do the right thing all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, God, I wish I had an answer to that, but I'm absolutely
Good.
stoned.
We've made him speechless. He's a known jerk. He's Ernie Johnson. He says
You're
things
talking about Tony.
that upset people.
Respectfully, I said respectfully.
Yeah, you did say respectfully. Ernie, good seeing you. Thank you, as always, for making the time for us, sir.
No, it's always my pleasure. You all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
It is so rare. I cannot tell you. Oh, I forgot to ask him whether Draymond Green wore all that green because his last name is Green. I think that's why he did that. Is he still there? Can he answer
I don't
that?
know if that's why he. I don't know if that's why he wore green. Every time they do that, hey, that's money green. When I wear green, it's just like, no, this is just happens to be green.
Ernie, you agree he leads the NBA in irrational confidence, right? Like put Draymond on the Wizards and he's no longer in the NBA.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
stop. You just couldn't help
what
yourself.
happened? What
Mr.
happened there?
Stugotz.
What do you-
You just couldn't. You just couldn't help yourself. You just couldn't. Please mute his mic. Put him on mute for a moment.
But I'm right.
Please. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ernie. I wish that spiritual, decent man had just Ernie Johnson had said, Stugotz, you're always an and just said goodbye and gone. Like, why? Like, honestly, it's so disrespectful about how good Draymond Green is at a thing.
I mean, do it without Steph.
Do what? Play great defense?
You should have turned it around. Or you dress like a dick because of your last name?
He had to have worn all of the green because his name is Draymond Green. Why would anyone go into their closet and select a bunch of green?
I think this is an overthink. It's
I like
just
green's a nice color.
it's one of the available colors.
It is. It may be an overthink. I'm glad you guys were so spirited in your rebuttal to that can't be why Draymond Green would do that. And
Look, there were only two options for us to go. I'm staunchly,
here.
very staunchly, just coincidence.
So Ernie, was it an overthink? You are still there, and since you're
Hey,
still there,
Dan.
yeah.
Dan, responding to what you just said, I would like to address Stugotz.
Oh, well.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Stugotz,
Yes.
you are always a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, man.
Thank you, EJ.
Good night, everybody.
Say, we're always dressed like a wiener.
Get out of here. What a jerk this Ernie Johnson is. Always a jerk.
My guy.
Will never be anything but a jerk. Everyone knows him to be a jerk. He will have that reputation eternally. I hope he continues to just sit there and continue to chime in.
I do have something for
the
Ernie to
show.
chime in on, Dan. I see that his bed has the tuck on the bottom. Ernie, you're a tuck on the bottom guy. You don't ask him
The
to, hey,
place I'm
untuck it for me.
staying. The place I'm staying is a tuck at the bottom place, I guess. I
wow.
haven't touched that. So yeah, it's always weird when you're doing this from a hotel room because you never know what's in the background. This looks pretty safe.
Hey,
Anyway,
Ernie, could you refer to me as kid like you did for Roy?
happy to do it, kid.
Thank you.
Ernie, is there such a thing as a quiet 39 points, the way Carlisle said Siakam had a quiet 39 the other night?
Yeah, it wasn't really quiet, but no, it's interesting. I mean, no, it wasn't quiet. It was loud and clear. Just ask Stu's friends.
See you later, Ernie. We have
Dan,
no
I have
more
one more thing
questions.
for Ernie.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead
Yeah.
and ask. Go
One
ahead.
more thing.
Ernie,
Hold
your
on,
favorite
Ernie.
shoes
Hold
to
on.
bring out on a suit. You got a lot of shoes. You had some Jumpman jacks the other day.
Yeah.
What's your favorite shoe to put on a suit?
11s.
Attaboy.
There you go.
good.
And shout out my buddy Tony Bollier, who's an assistant coach for Butler Bulldogs, for the swag he gave me at breakfast yesterday. And that's all I've got. I had blocked out 3 hours, but I guess apparently.
All right.
We're
That's
almost
fine.
done.
See you later. I expect to hear you about 9 minutes from now. I expect you to just pop up without.
Oh, wait, I actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
About 11 years ago, were you also like, that's probably one too many Franklin and Bash promos?
You had to be thinking it.
Like, really, again with the Franklin and Bash.
Ernie?
I'm lost.
See you later, Ernie. Good talking to you. But do you believe that Richard Jefferson was right the other night after Game 2, before
You
Game?
keep saying we're done, and then you keep.
What about Rizzoli and Isles? Were you like, is this a spinoff? Is this a different firm? Surely I can't be promoting it as much.
Is Richard Jefferson allowed to say before Game 3 of OKC, Minnesota, both teams are literally playing for their lives?
I didn't realize the stakes were that high.
Yeah.
I know playoffs are important, but if we get to that point, that's going to be gladiator kind of stuff.
Over under 10,000 times you've woken up and your TV has been on Charmed.
Under.
It's supernatural now.
See you later,
Jeez.
Ernie. I look forward again to hearing from you in 10 minutes as the close to this segment. I wanted to ask you guys something based on waking up. Mike mentioned this the other day. I have not seen this before, but I largely now live a life that doesn't very often have TV commercials in it. So I may be woefully off in what it is that I'm presenting to you right now, but the other day, for the first time in my life watching television, I saw a commercial for Starbucks. Have you guys, again,
Interesting. I saw it as well, and I was surprised by it.
I'm
Yes.
out of the commercial business, so for all I know, Starbucks has been advertising with commercials for many years, but I had never seen Starbucks advertise or need to advertise because they've got this great business where they can rip you off for $8 of beans in your cup, and that's just asinine to be able to do that. So why do they need to advertise anything ever? Am I wrong on this? Do you guys know if Starbucks is new to advertising
I've got
or not?
commercial blindness. You need to have a jingle. You need to say what a pro wants like a bunch of times for me to be like, what is this? Because I just go straight to the phone during commercials.
No, they have commercials, but I think of them as seasonal ads, like right around
Like a special drink.
right around the holidays. Because I can picture the cup with garland on it or whatever the Christmassy kind of thing is. So I have seen their ads.
I've seen the ads, but they're trying to do this thing where it's like, hey, we're Starbucks. We're on every single corner. We're the biggest monopoly in coffee. But this is like a cool art house vibe. And you can come over and do your work. And you can get extra coffee for free if you hang out here. So it's like trying to be small time, but we know that you're this monolith of coffee. And why are you trying to play this game with us?
Yeah, I remember them doing an ASMR commercial. I'm like, what is this, man? I'm sick of this ASMR stuff. Like, can we please stop? But the most latest one is at the end of the commercial, it just says the Starbucks Coffee Company. Like, we know who you are. Thank you.
Did Tony use monolith there correctly?
Of course I did.
I don't
No
think that
idea.
they're a monopoly or a monolith because I think beans are
It's
very
a thing
competitive.
you say. It's a thing you say.
Dunkin' has
Monopoly.
commercials.
Right.
Jordan was on one of them.
I don't think that monolith is what you meant there. I don't think.
Did
Sounds
you
like
look
a
that
ride.
up? Did you
I
look
mean-
that
I
up?
haven't
or
yet.
not?
No,
Okay.
I have not.
There's times where you say that I don't say something right, and then you look it up, and then I say it right, and you're like, oh, I should have listened to him.
That's a monorail, Stugotz. That's a different thing.
Monolith, monorail. Starbucks has run over 8,000 commercials in the past 30 days alone. No, it's jarring. It's the most commercials they've run in a 30-day period in their entire history. Like, I'm with you. I was shocked to see it. You want coffee? That's the place you go, right?
Or Dunkin'.
Again, the monolith being a powerful, unified, and often inflexible organization. Monolith of coffee.
What are there more of at Le Batard Show? Starbucks or CVS's? At Le Batard Show, if you had to choose, there's probably an answer to this
What an
question.
odd question.
Thanks, CVS.
I love a CVS.
Oh, so do I.
Apples and oranges, right?
Yeah, generally
and drug stores?
two different addictions, drugs and beans.
I
But
mean, not everybody's addicted to drugs.
CVS is something, when I just think of something that there are too many of, and by the way, Pura Vida is headed for this right now because I've seen them popping up all over the place in a way
Don't
that's
get me started
it's
with Pura Vida. Do not get me started.
so expensive, but the food is fresher than anywhere else.
Sure, it's fresher, but give me a break.
Starbucks has
Give me a
over
break.
40,000 stores. CVS has over 4,000 stores.
So it's a lot more.
Yeah.
Monolith.
Really?
Yeah, really?
But also down here, there's a big congestion because they acquired the Eckerd's brand. And
Eckerd's?
Yeah.
Navarro too.
Loved Eckerd's.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was also a deal between Eckerd's and Publix, which is why you'll see a CVS right next to a Publix most times down here. Because there was like some kind of ownership thing.
Plus
Eckerd's
the
and-
CVS inside the Targets.
yeah, there
too,
was always
which-
like an Eckerd next to a Publix.
Never knew that.
When you say never knew that, I don't know if you guys have seen the deterioration of the Untold series on Netflix. It started as something during a period of documentary atrophying. I told you, Stugotz, at the start of the show today that we won a Sports Emmy for a documentary. The documentary business is being ravaged by and the movie business in general is being ravaged by everything that's happening in Hollywood, in AI, in Amazon, Netflix, and Apple, and a handful of others are doing all of the work. And what's happening in that transaction is as you get these giant corporations making things, and they have to be careful about an assortment of things, things are being made less well, and access is being traded for the content being diluted. So that when you check out HBO Max and the documentary on Tiger Woods doesn't have his participation, it's a much better documentary than it would be if it had his participation, because by not having the access, they don't have to be that respectful in the trades that they make in exchange for that access. The Untold series that I thought was going to make a good documentary, because they didn't have access, was Untold when they got a hold of the Brett Favre story. But man, did they do a job with that. They spent the entire time on Jen Sturger. Instead of, he ripped off the poorest state in the country, allegedly.
Really?
They spent so much time on a dick pic story. Like, they spent the first 50 minutes on let's do Jen Sturger's story instead of ripped off poor people. And it was like, man, you're doing, and it'll be hugely popular because, yeah, tell me about the pic. Tell me about the salacious thing that's not nearly as damaging or interesting as the thing that's actually the most awful, even though the first thing is not, it's not terribly good either, obviously.
In comparison, it's not as
It's subjective,
bad,
too.
right?
Well,
in
they're
terms of like
pandering.
what you're interested in. I mean, I thought there were plenty of details in that. The fact that they had never met to this day is pretty fascinating. And Jen Sturger hasn't been super public about that stuff. So you almost can't talk about the fall from grace without the original sin of Brett Favre. So I understand why they dedicated so much time to it. And also, Sturger's available, whereas Favre isn't.
I'm not saying that I don't understand why the decision was made. And furthermore, if your desire is only clicks and interest, which maybe that's what it should be when making a movie, surely I'll get more people in the tent talking about the simplicity of hero sends unwanted dick pic, but 40 minutes of that when the other crime that he has is the crime that does more damage to more people. And again, I'm not trying to minimize what it is that happened to Jen Sturger, but that story has been told. Like, you can say, yes, that was the one interesting detail that I had not gotten, which is she's never met Brett Favre. I also had another thought, weird though it was. I really don't understand why, given its spelling, we still pronounce Favre that way. Like
Ben Stiller over here?
I think
Doesn't
it's
make
like
sense. It's
like a
never
theater
made
thing.
sense.
Favre.
It's like a theater situation.
it still doesn't make sense to me.
Centra. It's the same thing.
It's
When
not-
when
it's
I
not-
explain it to you, like when it's Favre, it's just like center and theater.
It's monolith.
I haven't,
Brett Favre.
Said that already.
but he hadn't said it by banging his computer against his
It
microphone.
was,
Oh,
for,
yeah,
em-
yeah,
it was
yeah,
for
yeah.
emphasis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, is part of it. All this stuff is still pending with Brett Favre and what happened in Mississippi. So I imagine they probably talked about it and really wanted to make that as interesting as possible, especially for Dan. They're like, Dan's going to give us a hard time about this. We should try to do more. Well, he's not privy to these conversations. Production is very hard sometimes.
But the R should be in front of the V. I mean,
I don't have a lot of words, and again, this might be my ignorance, where the V is before the R, and I'm pronouncing the R before the V.
crazy.
Silent V.
I mean, you're cherry picking the V here. There's plenty of examples of the R after the E with the sound.
The thing that I don't believe, and I understand what it is that you're saying, because the second crime, allegedly, is less interesting than the first if what you're looking for is entertainment value. But whether it's pending or not, you can't tell me that giving the first 45 minutes of the movie over to the first thing and the last 9 minutes of the movie to the second thing is anything other than a grab for whatever it is you can get with eyeballs because of a penis photo from 20 years ago.
But is that surprising, though, that they're going for what's salacious more than what's more dense and difficult to
They're
unpack?
going for the masses.
Right.
Yes. And what's interesting to the masses?
Isn't the surprising part, though, when they're done putting the film together and they show it to whoever they got to show it to, and that person's like, yeah, it's good, let's release it. Like, that part will be surprising to me, where it's just the final 9 minutes of the part that I think most people would watch it expecting to learn about.
But it's hard to do well, right? And it's what I'm talking about, my expectations for how that series began versus what it is that it's actually become, and how it is that all of it gets cheapened in the process of what it is that we're doing if you allow the corporations to always make the decisions that are just about getting the clicks. It's how the poor in Mississippi get bleeped again by the idea of, oh, they didn't want to cover this part of it well because it's too hard to cover well, so let's just go talk to Jen Sturger about something here and frame it as untold, even though I'm telling you, when I saw the McNair story, it had all been told. Like, you're not surprising me anymore with some of the stuff that you're making, even though I wanted so much for that series to be enduringly great, because the first 6 of those, each one of them was a banger, and they were doing difficult things well. They weren't doing difficult things like easily, like, let's do the University of Florida's story and avoid all of the stuff in exchange for access that people want to hear about, because it doesn't matter whether we actually give them the stuff that they want to watch or hear about, as long as we just do the big, look, we just want a sports documentary. We just want a sports Emmy because we just told a sports story. So it's not like I don't understand how it is that this is happening across the landscape. I just like for the ability for everyone to make things that are harder to make.
Fervor. That's French in origin, but when we decided to Americanize it, we switch where the letters are. You can't do that with a last name. I mean, I guess you can, but it's less common to do that with a last name. But we've done that here in America, change words so they make more sense to us.
There are only 5 stores that have 25,000 plus locations in the United States.
Name them. This is good information here.
It's amazing. Subway, McDonald's.
Again?
Starbucks. Kumon.
What?
The tutoring center?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What?
26,000 locations
What the
across
hell?
the United States. And number 1, and there is one on every corner. No, with over 60,000 locations, 7-Eleven.
Folks out there in the audience, temperature's starting to turn up a little bit. That means a lot of you and your families and your friends are going outside, having a perfect grill day, maybe out by the pool. Now, imagine yourself, grill side. Your veggies, your meats, they're all prepped, ready to go. Kids running around in the background. Lawn, perfectly manicured to perfection. It all sounds pretty great. This sounds like a good time. Now you make that good time a Miller time, because it is all made better with a white can in your hand of that beautiful Miller Lite. Celebrating its 50th anniversary, Miller Lite. Almost 20 years have they been partnered with our show, making your good times Miller times every time out. There's just something about a perfect grilling day. Sun's out, friends show up, that first sip of Miller Lite, it just hits different. I've been stocking the cooler with Miller Lite for years on these grilling days, and for good reason. It's brewed for taste, and it's only 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs. This year, Miller Lite turns 50. That's 5 decades of cookouts, laughs, and ice-cold moments that never miss. It's the original light beer, and it's still my go-to. Great beer, great times. Grill on. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
I have a couple of corrections to make here before we get to Juju. The 2023 Albert Brooks HBO documentary was directed by Rob Reiner, not Judd Apatow. And then the more embarrassing correction comes in the direction of Greg Cody.
Oh.
Joe Rose's 345 receiving yards in 1983 was 20th among tight ends. 20th.
Top 20.
So not
Big
not
year.
did not
Contract year.
lead the league. Football expert, covered these games. Did not lead the league in 1982.
Yeah, I corrected myself earlier.
Right. Said it was Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
No need to beat a dead horse.
Or Big Dog. I also need to
Well
make a
put.
correction. It wasn't fervor. In my haste, I misread fever. I'm sorry.
Okay, so a lot of corrections.
wow.
here.
Monolith is still right.
But that is your VRE situation, like Favre.
I called him Tim Womack. So I mean,
Yes, so that's an assortment of mistakes today.
Also, during the Alex Palou interview, I had a very difficult time saying in an Indy car. When you say that real quick.
you can't say into Indianapolis.
in
see?
an Indy car.
Right,
It's
you can't
tough.
do it.
In an Indy car. See?
Keep them separate. It's
tough.
Juju is with us now. I will remind people that after every NBA playoff game, Alley-oop will be on our YouTube channel. Before we get to talking to Juju about that and other things, though, let's take care of the sponsor.
All right, it's time for Against the Spread. It's presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. I got the Dallas Stars at the Edmonton Oilers. It's the Western Conference Finals, Game 4, and Edmonton leads 2-1. There's a lot of questions in this series right now. Rupe Hintz, who did not play in Game 3, hopes to play in Game 4. Will there be a bounce-back effort from Jake Ottinger in Game 4 after giving up 6 in Game 3? And will Matthias Ekholm return for the Edmonton Oilers? Now, the Oilers covered 8 of the last 10 games and won each of the last 8 Game 4s. I think the Edmonton Oilers will win. They are a 1.5 goal favorite, so we'll go with the Oilers against the
Good
spread.
analysis, Roy. Good analysis.
like that.
Thank you.
Greg, you said, I don't know how you feel about this. Ottinger says that McDavid's the greatest hockey player of all time.
How many championships has he won?
0.
That's funny.
0. I
revisit
thought
that
it was
one.
a low number. I wasn't sure it was 0. Win a championship, and then you enter the all-time great conversation. Until you win a championship, you continue to be Connor McOverrated.
Against the spread. All right, I'm going to go to the association tonight. Game 4, Eastern Conference Finals, New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. And as you guys know, it's a very simple math for me. The team that I bet on always loses. Always. My record is Dan level when it comes to betting on teams. So, tonight, -2.5 for the Indiana Pacers. Tony is locking that in against the spread.
Juju, I believe, and I will say this without equivocation and without having seen the content and the entirety of your closet, that is the single greatest hat in the history of Major League Baseball, the one that you are presently wearing.
Pretty good.
It is great.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
Salute
Dave-
to them Pirates.
Yeah, man. Dave Parker. Am I right?
Right.
I mean, that's
Coolest baseball player ever.
there is, that is correct as well, but there is, tell me you've got a better hat than that in your collection. Do you have a Major League Baseball hat that you like better than that one?
Not at all. They're all pale in comparison, brother.
It's a good one. Let's talk playoffs and NBA because, as I said, Alley-oop is a fun show. Juju is hosting it live after every NBA playoff game, and it is a different and more fun experience than what it is that we do around here every day, and it is not intended to be indictment of what we do every day. So your thoughts here on what we didn't cover today when it came to NBA playoff basketball?
Yeah, man. I think not enough people are highlighting the importance of Chet Holmgren last night. Without Chet last night, that game might have been in peril. I think when Chet is playing like that, nobody stands a chance at all, especially whenever you got Julius Randle getting 5 points. What in the hell? I sat up here last week and said, you know what? He will make the Hall of Fame. I was wrong. Get that brother out of here. No longer. He has no heart. You have to at least put up an effort. And speaking of putting up efforts, Ant-Man, my heart and soul, what are you doing? He had 16 points in a very, very pivotal game last night. And then after the game, he said, "Oh, I didn't get up enough shots, but it wasn't because I wasn't trying. It's because that's what I was trying to do. Get them out of here." I think they need to go home right now. The Minnesota Timberwolves need to go home.
I think it was a testament, Juju, to OKC's defense, the way that they were attacking and blitzing Ant-Man when he was coming off of, getting the ball across the timeline. It was like, how can we get everybody else to score? And the thing is, they got everybody else to score, right? Like, this was the perfect game. They had the game from DiVincenzo, from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, from McDaniel, from Naz Reid, who even put up 11 points, your boy.
Yeah, but that's the game. The game plan is, though, this is the thing that OKC does better than every individual superstar in the sport. No one can beat that defense. Like, you saw what Jokic looked in a Game 7. Like, I understand that we don't cover defense well, but Anthony Edwards didn't choose to be weak. That was done to him last night. Like, that's why they're going to win the championship.
You have to take more than 13 shots, Dan. You have to.
That's fine, but he'll take 27 and then make 6 of them, and you'll be criticizing him because he didn't make the shot.
But that right there is why I object to the whole, he said after the game, I didn't struggle. I didn't shoot enough to struggle. They weren't allowing me to do this or do this. Okay, if a team doesn't allow you to do something you want, then you struggled. That's struggling.
If you're 1 of 7 from 3, you struggled. I mean.
I agree with you, but I would just also say that we do a very poor job of covering defense in this sport. It's not sexy. If we're talking about the individual performances all the time, it's very easy to blame Jokic and Anthony Edwards. We all know that both those guys are great, correct? Or do we not know that? Do we not know that, Stugotz?
I don't know if Edwards is great yet.
Okay.
I agree.
They're obviously great. Both of them are obviously great, and if they don't show up in a big performance, I don't think it's ever because Anthony Edwards doesn't have the confidence to show up in a big performance. I think it's because OKC will ravage everyone who's left. Like, that's how they won 68 games.
And they had the fortunate advantage of going against the toughest team in the playoffs, in my opinion, the Nuggets last round. If you can come up with a plan to stop Joker, Alex Caruso got that confidence, and everybody got that confidence in the last series, man, these Timberwolves are a piece of cake.
You were saying, Stugotz, instead of in my ear, why don't you say it out?
Was that your ear or Zaslow's ear?
No,
I was saying if Alexander Walker could figure it out, how about Anthony Edwards figure it out? Okay, that tough defense.
I would argue that perhaps OKC allowed other people to figure it out.
Focusing a little on Anthony Edwards more than Nickeil Alexander-Walker. A little bit more.
Yeah, but he figured it out. I mean,
yeah,
he had a big game. He did.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
So Also in the pesky lane, other than white guys, I would like to submit Grand Theft Alvarado, Jose Alvarado from the New Orleans Pelicans.
Excellent.
He is very pesky.
Did not get a PED suspension, by the way.
So good.
Right.
It is a good one, but okay, so thank you for zigging while we're zagging here. Is there a black pesky person that isn't a leadoff hitter like Bip Roberts?
Perfect.
Eric Murdoch. Eric Murdoch was pesky. His nickname was the Man of Steel.
Boom.
Torture chamber.
Patrick Beverly.
Pat Bev.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's a great one.
That was an assist from outside.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Caitlin Clark was also injured yesterday. We didn't talk about that at all. The ratings continue to be just unbelievable for her and that sport.
Right. I know that's a tough blow to the league, the ratings and everything. She's out for a minimum of 2 weeks, which puts her out in some important games. Her team was surging right now, doing it. I think they're merging at the right time. You did, getting all the pieces together, whatever the words are I'm looking for. They're getting it together right now. I think it's a tough blow for that team, man. I think that it will allow the other pieces on that team, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bronner, and all the rest of the girls to come up with a plan, sort of like Jalen Brunson. In my opinion, the Knicks play a little better without Jalen Brunson hogging the ball for 20 seconds of the shot clock. I remember when he got hurt earlier in the season, OG was OG. Mikal Bridges was Mikal Bridges. I think that offense flows a little bit better, you did, but in this situation, it's rough because Caitlin is a facilitator as well. So, yeah, prayers to the Fever, but the league definitely is taking a hard blow with that one.
Any thoughts on the return of John Halliburton?
Man. They got it right because I'm happy they kept him out of New York. If he would have been allowed to go to New York, he would have been hit with trash cans, all the stuff that the brother outside got hit with, because New York fans, they attack Windhorse. If they attack Windhorse, then John Halliburton Jr. or Sr. would have been on the menu as well. So I think they got it right. It was a Freudian suspension, and keep him in the skybox because New York fans don't play that.
Cody, you ever been yelled at while leaving a game?
I have. Never had anything thrown at me, though.
Do you guys like the idea, or is it a dad joke, a mean suggestion that that Tyrese Halliburton and John Halliburton should do a show together called Hallie Questionable?
I like it.
I like it. No, that's good. Hallie questionable. That's really good.
A lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna steal that.
the loser game show sound decides for itself whether something is a funny joke or not. Granddad Greg Cody making a granddad joke and saluting a granddad joke as good is not the compliment that he thinks it is.
Sure it is. It's the ultimate compliment.
Poll questions, please, one of which is about dad jokes and whether or not they are intentionally and purposefully terrible. What do you have for us?
Yes, sir. Are dad jokes always terrible? 56% of the audience says no, they are not.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
What a win.
Good day for
Wow.
dads. Yes.
What a victory for myself. Close. Too close, but still a victory. Big W.
Yes, sir.
Big V.
Speaking of dads, congratulations to Northwestern for making it to the championship over the weekend. They had a tough game in the championship, but still, getting to the championship is not an easy feat. You feel me? Salute, Stugotz.
Thank you.
Also put on the poll, Juju, was Joe Rose a great tight end? I just want to close that loop.
Greatest on that team. I mean.
At the time.
20th in the league overall.
Is shooters touch math? 56% of the audience says no, it's not.
A bunch of non-shooters out there. Bunch of bricklayers.
Hey, salute to MTV. Can a team that's up 2-0 literally be playing for their lives?
Yes. Yes.
58% of the audience says no, they cannot.
They're wrong.
Oh, wow.
Is it very hard to beat the Carolina Hurricanes 16 times in a row?
So hard.
I had a typo earlier in the show. I put Panthers, and it was still hard. 76% of the audience says, yes, it is hard.
Hey, yo.
And the last poll, what are there more of, Starbucks or CVS's? 80% of the audience says Starbucks. And those are your polls.
Go ahead and close us out with a little bit of that great work that made Joe Rose the 20th best tight end in the sport in 1982 when he had 343 receiving yards.
That's good. Big juicy cheeseburgers, a Philly chicken. That's good. Onions. Mushrooms. It's good. Excuse me, can I have a side order of Can I get some blue cheese with it? I like to dip my thick in that blue cheese they have there. Hey, you want some pasta and seafood dishes with fresh fish? It's good. So good. Yeah. There is nothing like a thick